Thanks everybody for coming. Let's get started. I don't have anything really formal to show you guys. First, I just wanted to thank everybody for coming and presenting. We're very excited to see this. I know that we presented. Phil, you invited us over. What was it, like 4 months ago or 3 months ago or something like that? And we came over and we showed you the most recent Macs. I think since then there's been a major update on the website. So if you go to Microsoft.Macs, you install the latest versions. Now has a cool newsreader in there. But of the people from MSR, or actually just in general, who is familiar with Macs, has seen Macs, knows basically everything about Macs? There's a surprising number of hands that did not go up. So should I show Macs? And we have a demo machine? Or, well, actually, what I'll do is I'll show you just then in that case, I'll do an accelerated deck. I'll do the one I did for the butterflies yesterday. I just showed this to the MSN Butterflies yesterday, but it basically explains what Macs is about. And I'll do this very, very quickly because you guys will probably get all this instantly. It's surprising, though, how hard it is to convey some of these ideas. So a PowerPoint is actually useful. The main opportunity we see is around data. The Macs team started in the Explorer team, moved over to in the Windows team, basically moved over to the Live team. You can think of what we're doing as a combination of a new version of Explorer and maybe kind of a consumer version of Groove. If you can imagine the two things coming together. And the opportunity we see is basically all around data. Your data today is locked in all these different silos, whether it's your email that's on Exchange, your Hotmail that's on Hotmail, your Expedia data that's on some Expedia server, or your files that are on your hard drive. And that's fine if all you want to do is do this one vertical scenario with this one data type. But as soon as you want to do anything across that, it's kind of difficult to do. Then the second bullet is totally self-evident. There's about 1,500 people at the company, I think, working on some variation of sharing and roaming data is difficult. Sharing and roaming files is difficult. A lot of people are going to solve that problem. But what about sharing and roaming anything? Like literally any data can be schematized and expressed. And then the last problem, I know a lot of people in MSR think about, but not so much outside of MSR, cool visualizations, pieces of code that have some intelligence on some piece of data are typically locked away inside of applications. These are just some silly views I took off the web. These are from different websites, but like this one has, actors related to movies, people related to people on Flickr or one of these social network sites. This is keyword browsing. This is obviously calendar. I shouldn't leave my calendar picture up there too long. And these heat maps, maps of the market, where show what's interesting, what's not. In this case, this is from news.com. And all of these views, of course, you would want to be able to reuse those in all sorts of contexts. First of all, views are hard to write. It's actually very easy to make a data-bound table, say in HTML, to a small set of data. But if you have 1 million items that you're trying to display, or more realistically, 100,000 items that you're trying to display, it's actually extremely difficult to, just as a developer, to write a good view. And then once you wrote a good view, it's typically only understands one kind of data, so it's hard to reuse them. Here's, of course, our local live.com view of all these maps of the cities. And the concept of our team is that both on the data front, on the sharing and exchange front, and on the visualization front, it's very difficult to bridge the various domains that data is in to create cool scenarios. So some examples we have, just simple scenarios like trip planning. If Live wanted to do trip planning, they would need to pull together a map and a calendar and photos, of course, because you're on the trip taking photos. And they need to understand data from Expedia, like maybe hotels and flight information, and you have to bring all of that together in one experience. It could be done, just very expensive. So that's what Macs is. For those of you who don't know what Macs is about, our goal is to create a home for all of your information. And it's a conceptual home. It doesn't mean that it's not like the WinFS approach. Everything has to be in Macs. The data stays where it is. But we create views and queries on top of that, help you organize all that in one consistent way. So really, our pitch is this. And I'll stop on this slide. I have more slides, but this is all that really matters. We want to help you organize, visualize, and exchange any kind of data, regardless of the kind of data. And we have just been through, you haven't heard from us in a little bit if you've been just following the public websites. You saw a build go out there that had our M6 build that had some nice new features in it. But then we've been quiet for 6 months instead of adding new features. And the reason is because we've been, at Walter's behest, completely re-architecting the product, taking the learnings that we had from shipping it the first couple of times and architecting it for scale. So what we have now is actually, or what we will have at the end of this milestone, which finishes around 620, is we're going to have really some really interesting technologies along all three of those axes, wrapped in some pretty interesting scenarios. The technologies we have on the organized front is we basically have what we call a universal data access API. It is an API that lets you express queries across data stores, regardless of where the data actually is stored, and do things like set some metadata in a pretty structured fashion. And it's a very lightweight API. It's easy to use. It has a plug-in architecture. And so what it literally lets you do is it lets you say, find me all the users 5-star rated things. And emails come back, and photos come back, and then put those in a list. Okay. And then maybe let's add a column to that list where I can describe my thoughts. And as you go and you do that, we take care of basically everything. And over time, we're building this out. Over time, we'll even write the stuff back to the original items. But we take care of that as you do things like exchange the data. On the exchange front, we are currently building a two-way multi-master sync protocol. So basically, it's a sync engine that allows you to synchronize in a peer-to-peer, multi-master way any of the data that Max understands with as many users as you can. Our current technology is still one-to-one, and we don't do the break the files up into chunks. But we've prototyped it, and we know how we would build it on top of that. And we've been in discussions with all of the different teams at Microsoft that are doing similar types of technologies to figure out exactly what to build. But we have our sync engine working. It pokes through firewalls, and it synchronizes anything. And then on the visualization front, we have a visualization architecture that makes it relatively easy for ISVs, at least for for ourselves for now, to build very cool views that are very performant, that are nestable. They're virtualized. They're both UI and data virtualized. They're complex. They can even be 3D. And you can compose them at will. You can apply, and our views are completely independent of the items underneath them that are in the store. So that's basically what we built. So with that, do you have the demo laptop going? Is it that? Or sorry. Oh, sorry. I should have told you to do that. It's okay. When that comes back, I'll actually demo Max.
While you're doing that, quick introduction for Keith first. We'll just kind of go around the room. I know that most of you have worked with us before, and that kind of thing, but let's just do it again. Jason Warren, we've been working with the sharing
And I'm David Citron, also PM on the UI.
So great. So I'll do a super. We only have one laptop, so it's kind of silly. If somebody else has Max running, share some files with me so I can receive them. But I'll show you how Max works, and then we'll just intro and switch to the real meat of this conversation today. So this is Max. It's a normal application that lives on the start menu. It's a little unusual as an application because it's entirely built on WinFX. It has two things that are unusual. One, it's entirely built on WinFX, which is a good thing and a bad thing. It's made our productivity go up, and we're excited about WinFX. Especially Avalon and Indigo are key to how we've built this experience. The downside is if you install Max, you have to install WinFX, which until WinFX RTMs at the end of the year is going to be painful. So that makes our installs painful. Over time, we see that problem sort of going away. We have used Sparkle to write some of our XAML, but not production XAML, because News actually used some of that. Great. So some of it was built in Sparkle. Mostly we tried Sparkle, and it was creating XAML that was a little bit too complex for us for some of our cases. So we hand coded it, but we believe in Sparkle, and over time we hope that will be part of our development process. I can't sign in. Am I not on wireless? Oh, you know what? We turned off the wireless, didn't we? Sorry. I'll just sign in, and then we'll... Fun. So there's another reason Max is unusual is that it's published via Microsoft Update. So it seamlessly auto-updates itself. Now, unfortunately, it's not as seamless as we'd like because of WinFX underneath us. But over time, the goal is Max is running in your sys tray, and every time you open it, it just feels new, and new stuff gets installed, and it just feels more like the front end to a service than anything else. And, well, that's not signing. I think it will sign in a second. In the meantime, I'll go ahead and make a list. So this is an example of our visualizations architecture at work. In this case, what it's doing is it's projecting a view of your My Documents folder that you can build up a list from. If I go and I look at My Pictures folder for comparison, and I was part of the Explorer team, so I'm not trying to poke fun of them, but this is a thumbnails view of thumbnails, right? That's how Explorer works. Our view here is a thumbnail view of thumbnail views. So each particular box that you see here is an actual instance of a view code rendering its own contents and kind of turning itself inside out and rendering its contents. And the fact that it's rendering photos, for example, our view is agnostic to that. This particular build only understands photos and RSS news articles. But over time, in fact, in the next milestone, we're going to add any file. So we're just going to add all of the desktop search file types. And then we can add more and more types that we care about. So I'll go ahead and create a list. And to do that, I just navigate around the hard drive. This is, again, our view architecture kind of working, animating through those things, going into a folder, selecting some items. As I select them, I build up a list. And I'll add some items from this list. I'll add all of these. So now I've made a list. I hit create. I now have a list, which is a kind of a baby step towards that concept of generally organizing items. In Macs right now, we don't really understand that there are files underneath. It's just a list of these items that we've put together. So you can do all sorts of things with this list. You can share it. So if I share this, we will synchronize it peer-to-peer with another Macs peer. Or I can apply another view before I share it. So here, if I take a view like this one, it chunks the items out into little buckets, into little kind of slides, pages, which you can organize to tell a story. So maybe I'll swap those two photos out and add this photo to this slide. Maybe add this photo to this slide as well. Oh, got a little hang there. Not sure why. I'll add that photo to the slide. Surprisingly, don't know why that's slow. But anyway, so then if I hit play on that, you get the playback experience of the album. We're hitting something. It's funny. I don't think it's necessarily this looks like a file system or something. Well, the items are there. No, we ran this yesterday. Strange. Okay. Well, it's still extracting the large photos. But you did? Okay. I'm not signed in, but that shouldn't have any effect. I'll sign in. I'm online yet. Is this that problem? Do I have to shut down and restart it? Yeah, silly. All right. Sorry, guys. So, well, I'll finish the demo real quick. I could also do the new stuff. Signing in, okay. So now, in theory, somebody's shared an album with me. Using M6. Did you share? There. Which one? Oh, you know what? We might be on different servers. That's fine. These are from other people, so I won't go ahead and accept these. But the point is, you see the albums, you accept them, you download them. That's the story. And I'll go back to that list I was making. So as you make a list, you can apply any view to it. This is just a view. We have 3D views that we can build in here. This is an Avalon 3D view, so it's using Avalon 3D to render this. That's turned out to be good and bad, easy to build, but somewhat slower than we'd like. We don't get the frame rate that we like, and it's also we don't get some of the features that we want. So we're actually also investigating doing our views directly in DX, hosted inside of Avalon. So here you have a view going by. It kind of rotates through the photos. If you see a photo you like, you can click on it and zoom it. And again, our view engine is completely separate from all of the layers underneath and the rest of the stack. And if I share this list with you, you will receive the files and the view and everything else along with it. So that's that. And I'll go ahead. I don't know if I can't. We're on different servers, so let's not bother trying to receive an album. But sharing works. It works peer-to-peer. We do use servers to connect the users. But then once they're connected, we try to share it all peer-to-peer. If that fails, we bounce stuff off a relay server. And then the feature we built recently is this news feature. So this is a newspaper The current build is hardwired to read only the news from MSNBC Newsbot, part of Live, basically Live News. Over time, in the next build, you'll be able to add any arbitrary RSS feed to this. So this is a newspaper reading view of data that comes online. And to us, the nice thing here is that to Macs, this is of course just a list or with a visualization. And then each item is an actual item viewer that just knows how to render, in this case, an RSS article. But if you made a list of PowerPoints or a list of photos, or if this article had 5 photos in it, then you could put a mantle 3D view rotating directly inside of it. So that's the basic idea of the technology that we've built. And if you guys want, I'll talk a little bit about the next. How are we doing on time? Because I feel like I almost feel like I don't want to do a lot of this.
Just do a quick minute or two.
Okay.
Got some questions.
Okay, so what you'll see now are schematics in kind of without any of the colors. They're not a spec. These are the schematics that we make before we make the full pass renders and the full spec of what the product is going to look like. And I'm showing you what will basically be the build in April of next year. And our goal in April of next year is to have a build. Right now, Max is available for download, so any of you can go play with it. But we don't actually push it very hard. It's not part of Live yet. We don't connect to any of their services. We don't brand as part of Live. And we haven't gone out and pushed the thing pretty hard. Mostly because, first of all, our code isn't ready. Our scenarios aren't ready. But also because WinFX isn't ready. In April of next year, we think everything aligns. And we have a build that is the first build that looks like what we think Max will look like at RTM. This is not the RTM build. We actually have RTM vision beyond that. But the idea here is it will do sharing of absolutely anything that you have with anybody. So it's not just about sharing photos with people, as well as roaming your data between your various computers. So the ability to log into any computer you have and get all your data synchronized there. So it still lives on the start menu. The home page is revamped, better notification system, and it has these slices across all of the items that you have access to. So if I go into My Items, for example, you'll notice that we have, and you can think of these as sort of like groove spaces. In this case, I own, or the user that is showing here has a private space, a friend space, a family, and a workspace that they can navigate into and access from any computer and share with people, right? So in the private space, the first thing you'll notice is that the My Documents folder and any other folder that the user wants have been mapped from their hard drive into our space. Now, this space is a unique namespace path to all the data that I care about. So if I were to send you a pointer to an item in my Documents folder, today I would have to go like C:documents and settings / my documents / foo. But that path is not a universal path. That path would only work on your one computer. In this new world, once the stuff is mapped into our spaces land, then you can imagine kind of a max URL that actually has a unique identifier for every item that I care about in the world. And the items that I care about aren't just the files from my file system, but also items I've gone and created myself. So I've created these items in Max and put them in here. So I can obviously apply other views. One of the views that we're building is a nice tiles view, because that's a useful view. You can search. That's new. So as you type in how to, we'll kind of search across, in this case, your private space, so all of your data. So you typed in how to, and you see all of these how to's that you have. And you want to go ahead and create a new one. So in this case, you want to create a new list on how to get into biking. So you say create new, and the things that Max knows how to create appear. We have lists with different visualizations on them. You've seen some of these. You've seen our newspaper view, and you've seen our mantle view, and our thumbnail view, and our album view. The two new ones that we're building are this details view, as well as a very fast panorama view, inspired by a lot of the panorama work you guys did a long time ago. And then you can also make folders, text items, articles. So I went ahead and I create simple list. And we have a search and browse pane. So this is a work that we're doing with the desktop search team, where we're integrating their search results and creating a lightweight browse and search experience to help populate lists. So I could easily this is the list I'm making. I could easily come in here and click and just browse around my spaces, find the data I want, and put it in my list. Or I could search. So if I type in bicycle, we bring back search results. The search results are both local items as well as Windows Live search items, like Cascade.org and the bicycle lane, as well as sponsored results, so advertising. if I click on sponsored results, you can drill in at will into this place, find the things you want, and drag them into your list. So you build up your list with anything that you want in it. It can have files. It can have advertising. It can have pointers to websites. It can have 2 gigabyte videos, a bunch of photos, etc. Whatever you want. And then you can add columns to the list that express thoughts that you have on them. Some of the columns are ad hoc schema that you create on the fly, just like you would in Excel. Just make a column, start typing stuff. Or some of them can be data that you actually pull out of the items. So in this case, it's a rating that you've pulled out of the items. And when you save that, how to get into biking, if you then switch to your other computer, any one of your other computers, like your laptop, you open Max, and lo and behold, that data is just available because we roam everything with you. This is just roaming status. I'll skip that. That list, you can play it back. It's got a playback experience that's larger fonts, easier to read. So because all of our views have multiple modes: play, browse, and edit. So this is the play experience for this view. And you can save it. So I don't have to do this, but I do this once. I pick who my friends are. Maybe I add a new friend. And this is integrating with the ABCH, the live contacts, basically. So this is the list of live contacts. Now I've shared the list, and I can even notify people that I've shared something with them. This does change the model and then the email. This changes the model a little bit from Max the way it is today. Because Max the way it is today is, you share individual lists. In this new world, you put the stuff in places that people can access, and they can browse to it, just like they do kind of on the web. So here I've received a notification list from another one of my friends that says, hey, there's a book list you should come read. I can click on that directly, or I can open Max, get the notification on our homepage, because that becomes kind of an inbox of all notifications. Go in there, I can see that list. I can even open the list, go inside of it, and our sync engine brings the items in progressively. So you'll see some of them are filled, and some of them are still kind of ghosted out and filling in. So that's one of the things that we do. Because she's given me read-write, this is a two-way experience, so I can go edit that list and add something to it myself. So I'll just go ahead and add another book I liked. Or if I want to, I can even create new and go and create a full rich article instead of just a string of text. This, by the way, is kind of interesting. I'll pause on this for just a second. I'm doing this very, very fast. But this particular page is filling out an article. And of course, an article can be a headline, an image, a body. It has a set of, it's like a schematized item that has a set of fields. If I clicked on image, I could use the search pane to fill out the image. What's interesting is this is basically, eventually will grow into a full-blown schema designer. So any schema that you can think of, in this case it's an article, but you could create a book. You could create an airline, a flight information where it would be like departure, arrival, airline, gate, etc. Whatever schema you can think of, we have a generic schema view that will help you fill it in. Now, of course, you can create a better view. Like this is probably, for an article, this works. For a flight, you might want to create a view that's all around editing a flight information and booking your flight. That would be better than this. But the point is we edit everything the same way in Max. So I created that in here. I saved that in there. I can go back up and see all the things that she has made available to me. So that was that book. I'll keep going up. I can see all of her spaces. I can even see all of the spaces I have access to. So this is literally all of my friends and the spaces that they have access to. We still have the news feature, so you can synchronize to either a person or to a news source. In this case, you're synchronizing to CNET and getting back a newspaper view. All our views are interchangeable, so you can make your own newspaper and share that out peer-to-peer with everybody. That would work as well. And apply, you can apply any view. So this is applying our panorama view. This one's built in DX, by the way, so it's very fast. And then I think that's basically it. Oh, and then you can leave comments on any item. So all items in Max have what we call a self page, which is the home page for an item, where you can leave feedback. So in this case, check out the Hawaii pic, looking good, we miss you, etc. And it's like on Flickr, the self page for a photo has threaded comments on it. So that's the basic idea. So this is what this plus some work that doesn't show up visually, some architecture work that we need to do, is basically our plan for April of next year. In the meantime, though, we've been in conversations for quite some time through Phil with people on all of your teams or in MSR, and I know we are very excited about bringing in technology transfer into Max. We think that Max is a nice platform to do that. We're not a full platform yet. I think last time I stood up and talked to you guys, I said we didn't have APIs, and we still don't. because we're focusing really on building out our experience. But we do have a dev environment that is relatively easy for you guys to come and play in. In fact, this is an MSR transfer, but the ink folks, the tablet folks, recently played with Macs, and they wanted to add ink support on any item. So the fact that you can kind of scribble on an item. So we gave them access to our source code. They prototyped how to do it. They showed us how to do it. We ended up doing some of the work, and we ended up testing it and kind of doing most of the dev work. But they showed us how to do it, and they gave us the main code that made that happen. And so we are very excited about either in the news categorization front, in the visualization front, of course, people building full-on views. In the full-on vertical scenario, like another thing that we could do is, you saw the news experience in Max. That's actually one DLL that we just added to the system. And so we have a relatively clean way of adding DLLs to the system, and we would be very open to people adding new experiences, either for internal purposes, like this is a nice framework that allows me to do this stuff so that I can show off whatever ideas I'm working on better, or as actual shipping features that we'd be excited to release. So that's kind of the context for this. And then at some point, Walter, maybe towards the end, we can do, you want to do, I think they'd like to see the architecture at some point. No, maybe? Maybe not. Because I do the kind of the high-level marketing, silly stuff. But so it's not the round trip. It's the fact that Max on the round trip front, the round trip front, there are some types that we would do round trip that we do. And I know that there are likely we're just
okay, that's okay. Okay,
Thank you.
We have 15 minutes, so my group does a lot of stuff, and what I'm just going to do is give you some broad brush strokes, and then if you want to follow up with us personally, I encourage you to do that, okay? We will show a couple demos that we anticipated would be most useful to you guys. We might have been wrong, so I put in slides for just about everything. The main thing about our group is that we start with a user problem, not with a new technology, and we test our stuff against shipping codes, so we make sure it works. 4 main themes in the group right now are improving information worker productivity and business intelligence, InfoVis and IR, and we're going to show you some demos of that, some novel interaction techniques, both for large and small displays, and then sensing. I think many of you are already aware of things we've made freely available on the web and getting thousands and thousands of downloads on, Group Bar, Scalable Fabric. We have a vibe logging tool that logs every Windows event that has been leveraged all over the company by all kinds of people, from India kiosks to people trying to look at ads and all kinds of things. So lots of activity there. What we've taken the vibe logger into now is a new area of tracking usage, basically automatically writing a status report. This is basically, we call it Status Writer. And pretty soon we're going to be integrating that kind of Windows event data with all kinds of sensor data, from brain waves to heartbeats to GPS, and working on visualizations for that. So here's a picture of Status Writer. At TechFest this year, Steve Ballmer asked to have all his sales force install this. It basically shows you how you spend your day at your desktop computer. It'd be great to have it on all your devices, and that's coming soon. And you can look at it by day, by week, by month. Here's another view of it. And it shows you a pie chart. Kind of gives you a % of time you spend on things. And then you can export it out to an Excel spreadsheet and kind of do some cool stuff with that. We're all running it. We're doing in-situ studies of how we use it to write our status reports and to kind of change our behaviors. First thing I found was I was spending 65% of my day in the inbox, so I quickly stopped that. And we've actually added some software Nuria Oliver worked on called Swish, which allowed the system to automatically start to group and cluster things automatically for the user into tasks. The problem was tasks change over time, so we were automatically populating our group bar into clusters of related windows, but every once in a while it would change on you. So that wasn't so good. So we pulled it back out, and we're rethinking how we're doing that. We're going to fix that this summer. And obviously we're going to add tagging and calendar events and stuff like that. Swish, the goal was to assist users in managing their tasks. Basically, all Nuria did was do some simple title-based clustering. and some simple behavior, like did the user copy and paste back and forth or move back and forth between windows to start to group things automatically for the user into tasks, related groups of windows and information. Like I said, there's a ton of stuff we can do with that. But follow up with Nuria if you're interested in that activity. This is a project I'm just showing the beginning slide of a slide deck about. We had this thing called Scalable Fabric, which the idea was you take users' windows and you have a focus area and a periphery, and you take the windows, and as you drag them across the boundaries of the focus area, it scales the window down into a live representation of itself, but it's smaller in scale. And then you can group them like piles on your desk. It's gotten tons of feedback from all over the world, like 50,000 downloads in the last couple of weeks. But we decided that we were going to explore some other kinds of peripheral displays instead of the window itself. And what we did was we called these things clipping lists. We tried to do like a semantic zoom on what an important area of a window might be so that it was actually legible in the periphery. And then you could group these little clippings together. So here you see Tara used a wing cut to cut out the top of a window, and that's what she put in the periphery for a more glanceable display that was readable, so she could see who the recent email came into. And in her studies this summer, Tara showed that not only did people stay on task longer because these displays were more glanceable than Scalable Fabric, but they actually switched less often to different tasks. And when they switched, it was a more optimal time to switch. So automatically making clippings is a long-term research project, and we don't know that people will be willing to go in and make little wing cuts of their important parts of windows. But Tara's dissertation is continuing to look at this, and we're working with her on glanceable information about tasks in your periphery. I think at this point, no, it's Daniel. Are you doing Facet Map? Okay, George is going to show you a demo of Facet Map. And I think from here on it's demos, right? Till the last slide. You need this.
We're going to be tag team. Dan's going to do something with this. No, that might be a good idea. Dan's right there. So Facet Map is an exploration of how to show a really large, that's not what we want to show. A network error. Sorry about that. We're connected. Let me start it over again. Thank you. So you all probably know about the My Life Bits project that was done down in the Bay Area a number of years ago. It basically was looking at a collection of all of the information about Gordon Bell's life, basically everything that he interacted with, not just the electronic stuff that he already had, but they also went out and scanned stuff that was not in electronic form. So we worked with them to develop a new user interface for that that's much more visual. So the basic idea here is that we've taken this large collection of documents. This particular version has 46,000 items, and we created a faceted. We looked at the different attributes in that data and created facets that allow you to get access to the information in a variety of different ways. So each one of these big bubbles is a view on that data. So this is the type attribute. These are all of the items that have a type property, and people and date. These are the top level. Then if we focus in, for instance, if I look at pictures, it will filter on pictures, and you'll see on the right all of the pictures, and on the left the remaining facets. That is the pictures that have a date attribute, pictures that have a location attribute. So now we can dive in, and if we're looking for a picture of Gordon's from the 1980s, then we can dive deeper, and basically it gives us many different paths to the same information. and it's all done very visually.
The key things about this is we don't put this as the most usable visualization yet. We're going to show you the implementation of this. The thing about this is it scales from a smartphone size display to a wall, and you just see a lot of stuff. And it's got a web skill, so when all of the productions that they've done is like there's a lot of a lot of text. And we just study people like to look at their files, thumbnails, really only one for look at it because we underneath it thumbnails. So pretty much just
Okay.
like
Never mind. So we did, the next thing we did, which Dan's going to show, is we looked at the same problem, the same basic idea, except scaled down to a smartphone. And it's called Fathom.
So I just want to remark at the highest level, what we're really doing is what's called faceted search. So we are assuming that the different data sets that we are providing a browse and search mechanism for have really structured metadata. This could be something like an Windows Music Service Live, or whatever you want to call it, Yellow Pages, anything that has a really good metadata. The particular data source that we prototyped this summer was the Seattle area Yellow Pages. The slice we took is about 38,000 items. And the problem we were looking at is how do you search, how do you do very vague but complex queries across that kind of a data set in a mobile situation. These are situations where you have divided attention, where you may not know the data very well, and you want to broaden and narrow the query as new circumstances arise. I should give credit where it's due. This was primarily the work of an intern, Amy Carlson from University of Maryland, built on some of the UI work we did. So this is a 3-view UI. Up at the top, we have a standard sort of search interface. Below that, we have an always available results view. Don't get hung up on what the actual views look like. Just like Max, we imagine pluggable visualizations. This happens to be a list view. The goal with any of these is that we want to return to the user a very small number of items. 7 plus or minus 2, something that you can hold in your head that you can actually grok at once. And then down below, we have a facet view, which shows the canonical dimensions which are tuned to a particular corpus. This, again, being Yellow Pages. If it was music, you could imagine it was album, artist, genre, whatever. So let's construct a query such as, show me Thai restaurants that are open late that are near me. I just got out of a movie theater. That's a pretty complex query, and that would be even hard to do on a desktop in something like Google by just doing text input. And text is, again, not very well suited to a mobile situation. So what we're going to do here, and this is nonlinear, it doesn't matter which facet you go into in what order, and we do have multiple memberships. So some pieces of data will live in multiple places in the hierarchy, and that's something we feel strongly about. So we care about hours. We're hitting a SQL database in another room, so it might be a little slow. Let's go time of day. And these numbers down here show how many items match that particular query. I'm going to pin that. So now you see up at the top, late night is part of my query. I'm going to go into category, restaurants, ethnicity, and sorry, what kind of restaurant you want to go to, Piero?
Italian.
Okay. Let's go to Italian. Pin that. So right now we've gone from 38,000 items down to 100. We've gone from 38,000 down to 132. That's good, but not great. We really want to get this down a bunch. So let's assume we have GPS or some other location service. So let's say distance from me. Now the facets are dynamically displaying a logarithmic distance from me. So I'm willing to walk, say, 10 blocks. So now I'm down to 10 items, which is a set that I can actually deal with. So in this view, I don't know if you can see from where you are, we have a list of the items. A number next to it lets me access them from the keypad with one press. We also display one column of metadata. I can sort, let's sort by, say, rating. So now it's going to do that, and it's going to show the rating metadata. If I toggle left and right, I can cycle through the different metadata. So what I'm doing here is I am sorting by rating, but I'm going to display price, and I can see, I can optimize my return. I can look at the other metadata if I want to. Here's distance from school, distance from me, distance from home, days of the week that it's open, etc. So the real goal is how can we use this least common denominator interface, the keypad, the 9 keys that's on a broad array of consumer devices, ATM, cell phones, the numeric keypad, and how far can we get just using those 9 keys and the nav keys to do a faceted search, do text entry search, and cycle through the different metadata. I can still refine this if I want to by doing your standard text search, and I could have done that up front if I want to, if I'm really giving this a lot of attention. So, if I type in pizza using your favorite text entry method, I'm going to word wheel across the data, and now I'm down to 5 items if I want to. But we really want to provide an experience that unifies search and browsing. What's happened with Google and all these other things is that browsing has sort of been forgotten, and we're relying on search. Well, we want to sort of re-up the importance of browse and bring that back. Include serendipitous discovery, include vague queries. So that's it in a nutshell. And right now what we're doing is we're evangelizing this to various groups. We're talking to Xbox about how this would help them manage large lists. Talking to other groups. Love to talk to you guys. This is really a framework. As you can see, it's just a prototype, not even running the emulator, but we'd love to have your help making this real. Thanks.
Thank you. So just some follow-up questions real quick. So this is a metadata browser. It's a metadata. Basically it's a filter browser where you're like.
And search. You can still type in searches, and the search goes across content and metadata.
It's not an actual item browser beyond scrolling the list up and down, right? Like the items you had were flat with all that metadata.
Yeah.
And you were using your UI to browse the metadata.
Yeah.
And then search the metadata.
Yeah.
To get it down to some set.
Yeah.
And to map it to spatial memory on the keypad.
Right. So
Yeah, of course. No, the keypad aspects are less interesting to us, but we focus a lot on that search pane that I kind of glossed over that we have. We're designing that now. We'd love your input on that design because what we're trying to do is a little bit different from what you showed, I think. What we're trying to do is we're trying to make one pane for browse and search. Explorer we tried to do that in Vista, and we're not successful. The desktop search team has done a great job with search, but they haven't integrated browsing yet. They're looking at how to do that. So we're all kind of converging on this world where we're going to browse the items that have structure and do searches and browse the metadata, all in kind of one metaphor. And I don't know that. Okay,
right.
We'll show you what we have.
Because we target the cell phone, we have to make very, very compact UI, and I think that's something that you could imagine living in a little tile. So that facet view where I go in and I open it up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the third demo we were going to show is a system called Tumbler and Splatter. It's actually 2 different techniques to solve the same problem. The problem is you got a bunch of objects that are maybe overlapping each other, so like in a 2D drawing package, but although it shows up in lots of other contexts too. And the problem is when you have things occluding each other, it may be very hard to find the object that you're interested in manipulating and select it and manipulate it. And sometimes it forces you to manually move things out of the way and then move the object that you want to move and then try to reassemble things, and that's hard. So the 2 techniques, this work, by the way, was done by Gonzalo Ramos and a number of us over last summer. Gonzalo is a student at University of Toronto. So the Tumbler basically takes a collection of objects. You don't have to do any grouping operation, although you can. You just point to an object and it will take everything that's occluded by that and then drag out, and you have a 3D view, and you can do it in several different dimensions. And basically, you can pick an object and change the order just by moving it up and down in here, or you can pick an object and actually move that object around, and notice that there is a shadow being projected on the other layers, so it's easy to see, to position this relative to the other objects. So that's Tumbler. The other technique is called Splatter, and basically this technique, solving the same problem, you do a control left click and the objects just spread out for you. and then to rearrange these objects. For example, if I want to put this one underneath, I just drag it up from below, and it's now underneath that object. So very quick, that's just two interesting techniques for dealing with occlusion problems.
Right, and this has application to also our mapping products that I'm working on some of the space-line people. I'm trying to figure out when you have a huge number of push pins in the same area or thumbnails, how do you get a better view of them?
So just to finish up, I talked about a bunch of sensor work, and Desmond Can, who I think is still in the room, or maybe not. No, he's doing some brain-computer interaction stuff. If you guys haven't seen that, and then Nuria is doing a ton of stuff with wearable healthcare and helping runners train and do running programs and changing the tempo of the music and picking a song based on your current heart rate and where you target it to be. Desney's working with Office to actually do evaluation of Office 14 using brain sensors to look at cognitive load issues and design issues. So lots of fun work there. That's like 10 years out research. So keep it in mind. I think that's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Hello, my name is Sin. I'm from Microsoft Research Asia. Today I'm going to demo three separate breakthroughs we are currently working on. First one is Homepage Live. The second one is the exploring the MSN user space, and the third one is how to cluster the image search result. So we have a total of 45 minutes, so we can run through the demo quickly so that we can have some discussion at the end. So the Homepage Live, the problem we try to solve is that we want to provide user his or her own way to organize the important information that he or she is interested in. So we wrote a simple, I think this is a Java app, so that you can easily just drag and drop different kind of a web layout parts into your panel, and then it try to grab the ISS feed or the XML beneath that HTML control, and then later it will keep updating the content. So, for example, you can say, I want to add so you want to add a new category, and so you can choose anything from a web page and drag it to this layout pane, and of course you can also go to other sites. But let's say if we update it, so this pane we have the content there. Okay, let me do that again. So this is this part is the kind of browsing. You can say go to the news.cnet.com. And this is a kind of a topic chooser. Yeah, you say, oh, I want to drag this one into my personal homepage, and then you can click update to see how it looks like. So you can arrange them. You can potentially add, remove the contents you're not interested in. So we have some examples right here already. So this is for the music. You can see that the result of different web content from different websites showing up in a single homepage. So we capture, for example, we capture this one from a certain website, and then it keep updating. the content. Mm-hmm. Yes, I think right now we are you mean in SharePoint? I haven't honestly I haven't used that one. So the goal for this little app is that to solve the problem where you come to office in the morning and you have to hit multiple websites to get the information you need, and in here you can kind of build your own channel, and the applet can automatically update the information from you. So the technical challenge right now is that sometimes when you try to edit or when you try to design the web page, it's hard to distinguish the things you drag or you try to grab. If it's just a static web HTML text, or does it have a XML or ISS feed inside so that you can sync that data automatically. Otherwise, you become a static information for you. That's not our purpose.
You say, so I understand the static.
Yes.
Smaller finding.
Yes.
There, and then you probably look the entire page.
I'm not a developer of this tool, but I think they try to download as little information as possible.
Okay. That would be.
Mm-hmm.
And then, what would you think about like
Yes, ISS feed, so that you can just use the ISS feed to automatically get the get updates. Because static, I mean,
but nothing else, right?
XML, if possible, the kind of the XML that describe the schema of the information and other. Yeah.
And we're trying
So,
to understand, like, if you were trying to promote some generic way for web pages to expose the content that they have versus because RSS is that.
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
for something for one type of.
Mm-hmm.
What was your question, Piero? I was just curious still, because obviously it's just HTML fine, right? If it's RSS, if it's arbitrary XML, like, is there anything out there today that's what describes XML?
Yes, there are.
That you would understand.
For example, sometimes the XML will have keywords in it. Sometimes the XML have the source of the, for example, the source of the image, or if it's a live feed, the where do we get that from video, audio from? Yeah. Right now, this is I would say it's in the very early stage. We just try to see whether or not it could be our such usage model is usable for the normal user. Basically, you can browse, and then when you find the interesting information, you can say, oh, here's the one, and then I drag it and drop into some sort of layout pane. So we try to make it easy to find information and easy to design the layout. So this is the first one. Okay, the second demo is about MSN space, kind of a space networking viewer. You can view that this way. So today we have about more than 2 million users in MSN space. So how to find out who is the on a certain topic, for example, on Xbox. So how do we find out who is the most influential person out there? and then what is the relationship between that person and the rest of his friends, people who visit his site, and or some people that kind of have other kind of connection with that person. So we use some data from the MSN, basically the ISS feed, the page view log. I think it's 1 month of data to build this graphic user interface viewer to see try to review the information. For example, we found out that we have this category of hard people. We found out that the most popular person in Xbox topic is this called D3V Max. So we can go to his website, which is his blog site. And while we are waiting for the page to show, we can. There are three kind of links between different users. The first one is buddy. The second one is friend. The third one is visitor. We get that information from, I believe, is from the guest list here in the website, in the blog site. Guest list here on the left pane, and then from the ISS feed, if one person is registered to subscribe to that information, and I think also from the IM friends list, yeah, buddy list.
And you can navigate on the UI.
Yes. Yes, so you can see that and then you will center it around certain user, and you can find some interesting information of different users, and we also try to see that who likes the current user. So that's who likes Shreddy most. We try to do some kind of a user profiling to see how this user is unique. The purpose of our the tool, I think according to the content, they try to say, oh, this guy must be on this age.
Because this person's friend is all
Yes,
the same.
something like that. I'm not sure how accurate that is. And yeah, you'll be interested to see user report age is below 18 and the predict is much higher. Yeah, and another important usage of this is that we try to find, for example, if you want to do an ad of Xbox, upcoming Xbox, and then you want to target the ad, you want to plan it on the most influential users' web space, instead of just spread it across the website. Yeah. Yes.
So,
I believe so. Right now it doesn't.
Colin wants to see his predicted age.
Yes.
If it comes back to 12, what will that mean?
Yes.
Confirm a lot of stuff.
I try to play with it. Okay, so right now the whole team that implement this is on vacation right now. The China main holiday, so I try to play around it, and it always the website is having some problems, so I wouldn't try to do that. But I will send me email. Yes. No, surveys are, but they have some bugs. For example, if I search some other topic, I got a website error or something. So, yeah.
So, on just the data mining part, forget the UI. Right,
on the UI part of it, what is the most yeah, so keeping yeah, so for all the, so just in general, for all the social networking websites, I have seen a lot of views that are a person and all people around them who's connected to them. I use them for a lot of things. How, are you guys what that is? How comfortable it is? Because my first draft, I love, it's so visual, and so like, oh, these are my friends. Oh, that's his friend. And then in practice, that's my I haven't. I wonder why.
Okay, one problem is that we use both public and private information. For example, the body list, you can right now, yeah, even we can, but there's a like for example, if we want to do our internal research, like page view log and body list, you can use that to reach some conclusion and then try to sell the information if the user signs some agreement with you. But you cannot just ship it as an outside, say, oh, here's, you can see it.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah.
I think this question,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Is there a way or done that work that measure effectiveness? It is a comparison to others. Because, right,
Okay.
so
Okay.
if I'm exactly, if I'm the live team, I look at that and I'm like, oh, that's useful. Right? I can tell the difference. If I would just build that through that, help navigate your buddy list and go from their buddies to their buddies, etc. Whatever comes available, or space publicly listed, right?
Yes.
How useful is that really? Do we know? And we might, the answer might be like, we don't know. I think for our
Oh, yeah.
Yep, yep. From Lily's group, from yeah, all that other stuff.
And it's like you never contribute to know like what other kind of feedback you got from that's why they have I might argue. It's not a new visualization. It's not necessarily a new visualization. It's just that something, but nobody's doing it. So is there? So like
Part of it is frankly, even though it's an interesting issue, there's some liability there when you start looking at those kinds of things, whether it's Microsoft. And unfortunately, in some cases, we become a little bit conservative in terms of what we push up. I know that that's a different view from what the folks have, but from what I've observed is the try to transfer Lily's work, now this work, and a few other social network kinds of things. There's just been a reluctance to show those relationships. It's not an invasion of privacy, but you don't have to do an opt-in. I mean, there's just some issues that I ran into that, once you get attorneys involved, it becomes a little more about right.
Well, let's go on. When you look at where social networks are most popular, it's not, it's actually not the aggregation of activity.
Yeah, as well.
We built this on.
Or Facebook.
Facebook.
Well,
Like those kinds of things.
my space is designed for browsing your friend and their friends and going around or fun or other things.
So my personal experience when using this one is that I got lost in the forest because you click here, eventually.
3 clicks away and you're
Yeah,
like,
then
where am I now?
yeah, and then it's some all strangers right now, and where am I? That's right. So I want to mention a similar research we've done in the IM side. So we want to find out because of this famous 6-degree separation. For example, once we have all the people's friends list, party list in IM, can I find out that if, for example, between me and Phil, how many hops between us? And then, or I can see my immediate friends, but how many people are in my one hop jump list? And then I think that kind of open door to a lot of different new ideas or different findings. So we are in the middle of building that with the MSN team. That's 2 million kind of a matrix. You have to do the calculation, find the in degree, out degree, and try to represent that information in a 2D screen.
You'll need a lot of
Something like that, or I mean, basically it's a kind of a sparse table calculation. But what we want to find out is that since the world is connected, and if we can use that information, I mean, there are a lot of information. For example, if we really want to get to know Phil, I mean, which group, I mean, who knows him, or what's my shortest path to a certain important person? That's a very interesting scenario.
So, I know that you had, what I was speaking is up to the point where we were today, before you started discussing with us.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it looks like something's going to happen with that.
It's research, right? It's the MSN team asked our system research group to try to. They said, "Here's the data. Now try to make some sense out of it." So we are building a prototype to try to represent that network of information and.
But they haven't made commitments to ship this.
No,
No, I didn't think so.
nothing at all. Yes.
Which is a common point. You're spending a lot of time researching this area, right? And yet still haven't had any reason to compare it. I think you guys kind of did something like that, or at least I saw it in your demo. So a little bit of a social network. And I think I see you're heading in that direction. So maybe this will be so.
So that's what the long-term
Yeah, no, we have absolutely have stuff. We just don't have it yet.
Okay, so I'll jump to the last one of my demo.
That's a fine problem, and I know that that's not good. My question was a little bit more fundamental, like, look at this. The best I've seen, so the best view I have ever seen of the social is people with arrows. And we do that mostly with PD, and mostly with, those ones that do. I can easily imagine 3, but that doesn't necessarily. We had explored draw things. You could draw. It was you could decide what direction to go in. Unless the manager was for you were those people on that. But I guess I have found so far, my personal opinion on based on real data. I look at almost all of these, and actually MSR had one with this level where it was actually exactly what you wrote, except it was a big little island carousel.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
part of that did end up in this
The carousel.
carousel.
And the carousel is good. That's a good kind of line primitive. I just wonder if there is research around visualizing and if somebody's going beyond the well, people are thinking so wrong. By the way,
No, it's good. It's a good question. I'll ask George and see if he thinks the same thing. And I also will send you a couple of links. This word involved in national visualization with the federal government to actually do a number of things that is a very powerful security tool they use for national security. They're trying to try to help start. No, I don't know if you are or not. But the point is, it's even more powerful than you that today. By kind of and again, they have it in the software package there. So if you're trying to do it in Avalon, I have to, I guess, let you down. No. That's why I brought it up. Yours might be the platform. So
Okay, so the third topic is about imaging search and imaging search result clustering. So when we search imaging, for example, in Google, you see you search a common term, you end up with over 1 million results, and then the first page shows you about 30 of them, and then you have to wade through pages of different objects to get the result you want. So we've done a little research, and our result is that we try to cluster our search results. So for example, when you search Apple, we return the results in different subcategories: Apple Store, Apple iPod products, and the real Apple, and Apple trees, and so on and so forth.
is this live data
Yes.
with a do a query?
It's not just, but it's possible. For example, if you someone publish a very popular Apple image, and then if it show up here, it will eventually show up here, right? So what's your search term? It would take a while
Well, I
too.
wanted to see car, and then similar Apple, and then I wanted to see like empathy, or because I was just thinking of the problems I have with insert.
Mhm.
Definitely clustering is super useful. I wonder how it would do with that.
So car crash, okay, car financing, discount card, others. No.
This is based on
Yes.
It's awesome. It's super useful.
And then we get the subcategories candidates from different sources, and then we merge them and prompt them so that it creates a kind of a almost comprehensive representation of the whole subject. Car power or just power? It's loading, I believe. I did. No, it's working.
Okay,
That's
fine.
Yes. So the problem, I mean, the idea, I think, a picture is more than 1,000 words. So you see the result. I mean, everybody, I think, is convinced it's very useful. So the problem you have is that we try about 20 keywords. It did all great, But what if we ship it outside? I mean, 10 million people use it every day. So how does it scale? That is the part we haven't proved yet. So this looks neat on a 10, I mean, on 2-digit scale. But if you grow to 10 to the power of 5, 6, 7, how scalable we are is remain to be seen. So we are looking for opportunities to like internally stress test this thing out and see whether or not where is the bottleneck and try and see. No, it will be the search result. Yes, but what you can do is that you can also search to power tools. Yes, but then the search result will also give you different subgroups.
Right.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Because you could say if I have more than 1,000 results, then I make a subgroup.
Also, we right now we do not have a shipping vehicle in mind. We don't know how to get this thing out.
That's actually really amazing.
Yeah.
If you go to,
Go to.
No, it's fine. I get the idea here.
Yes.
That the live insert team would be so in talking of image search right now is very small, and we actually follow
Yep. Any more questions from the audience? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This might be a little bit of a letdown because we don't do UI work. This actually, just to give the right frame of reference, this is all about text. So this will be a lot less visually appealing, just as a warning up front.
But that was okay. That's still one of the ones that they selected.
Right, no, I'm half serious. We'll get to that at the end of the demo. We actually have some UI. The key thing that we do is we deal with text patterns, a different way in using them. And what I'm going to be talking about is I'll do a quick run, maybe 10 minutes through what we actually showed at TechFest, and then I'll get to the more interesting stuff, which is what has happened since. So basically 3 parts. First of all, what are these text patterns, or what kind of text patterns are we interested in? What are the different things you can do with them? And finally, what are the tools that we could give you right now to maybe try to make something work? Yes, and we actually have tools that you could download immediately. So just as a starting point of reference, the way we got into this whole thing was in the context of text classification. So think of a really, really simple text classification task. You want to detect sentiment. So you have large quantities of feedback text coming in, and all you really want to find out, let's say on a document level or on a sentence level, is this positive feedback, is this negative feedback, and then maybe route it or just count it, something like that. Really simple example. The way you would deal with this right now is it's just a classic machine learning problem. What you would do is you'd either tag a lot of text and then train a statistical model, or you would actually sort of build a small rule engine that does this classification for you. And in both cases, the real effort is not really in finding the engine to run this for you. The real effort is either in tagging the text or in building the rules by hand. It's manual labor that counts. In terms of machine learning, you can pretty much get an SVM model or a Bayes model off the rack and just use that. So the question is, can we somehow reduce the amount of work a human needs to do to get accurate results, or sort of to get you above a certain bump in the accuracy of the classification you do? And the one thing that we want to leverage is the fact that we as humans, we're really good at reasoning over certain types of text. And this only works for text. This doesn't work if this were, let's say, computational biology data, this wouldn't work. But we're really good at looking at text and figuring out what's going on. So the example that I like to use is if you type something into MSN search, you get your keywords in context. And even though you might not see all keywords, even though you might not see complete sentences, you're typically very good at seeing, okay, this is the context, this page is relevant, this page isn't. And that's what we want to leverage. So the way we do it is we start out with a little bit of labeled text, and we discover text patterns from that. And the second step is now what we're looking for is our so-called discriminating patterns. So these are text patterns that are really good predictors for, in the case of search, is this going to be relevant? Or in the case of the previous example, is this going to be a positive or negative piece of feedback? So to give you some examples, and these are actually real examples. I will switch to Yahoo. Once you see that in a document, you pretty much know, okay, this is an unhappy customer, no matter what else happens in the document. However, just the word Gmail, and again, this has pretty much statistically, this is the same signature. This is about as frequent. This is about as highly correlated to negative responses. But just looking at it as a human, you don't know if this really means that the person is unhappy. So we're looking for the top type of patterns, the other one we ignore. And I'm gonna skip all the technical parts about how we get these patterns. I'll just give you the definition. So basically, a text pattern is an ordered sequence of words. We allow gaps, which is interesting, but makes the search space a lot larger. And they have to satisfy two constraints. One, they have to be highly correlated to a label. In this case, just either positive or negative. And they have to be frequent. And again, the frequency requirement keeps you, because the search space is so large, you get a lot of stuff that's just nonsensical and happens to correlate highly just by accident. And that keeps you from that a little bit. Doesn't take all of it out. So we don't use bags of keywords. And again, this is a real example. Things like, make this information more helpful is not accurately summarized by just the bag of helpful and information. And again, this is real. So this is a pattern that occurs often on Office Online feedback. We don't use any very sophisticated models based on clustering, similarity, word similarity under the hood. And the main reason is if you see as a user you see a pattern, you know what that means in terms of the text. It's transparent to some degree. This doesn't ensure that all patterns are meaningful. That's why we need the human in the loop. The gaps are really crucial if you go beyond English, especially languages like German, where you have sort of large distances between the subject and the verb of a sentence. You really need those gaps. And I think that's all I'm going to talk about patterns. Oh, yeah, one more thing. We have some smarts to deal with context that humans are bad at reasoning over, so things like negation. So if you have a pattern, this is a gap, good. That doesn't mean we're going to match a sentence that says this is not good. So we're a little smarter than that. And now that we have these patterns, the way we're going to apply them is basically we take an unlabeled document, run it through the pattern-based classifier. If it matches any of those patterns that we've identified before, we're going to match that pattern and assign a label just based on that. And otherwise, we fall back on machine learning. So what this means is the pattern-based classifier doesn't have to capture a lot of the documents. Has to capture a fraction, but doesn't have to go beyond 50%. On the flip side, it has to be significantly more accurate than the machine learning-based classifier, because otherwise, why bother? So, and in order, let me actually show you this in action. So what we have here, this is the screen. The way we evaluated this is one of the standard sentiment detection data sets. These are 2,000 movie reviews. They're real reviews taken, I think, from Rotten Tomatoes. they're also real in the sense that the grammar is horrible. People have there's some misleading reviews. So one of my favorite ones pretty much states, "This is a horrible movie, but I like it." So now what? There's actually sort of the other thing that we discovered. There's duplicates in there, which apparently people didn't know. But this is sort of the standard training set. People write papers about this, and that's why we use that. And we looked at the patterns, and we also have at MSR we have the state-of-the-art classifier. So that's what we basically have. What we have on this side here. It's an SVM-based classifier trained on 3 grams. We used 1,600 documents for training. And what you can see, but which is basically identical to this figure, is the classification accuracy is around 90%, 88.9, and this is pretty much the state of the art. Now let me show you how these patterns work. So all we gave users to look at are the top 300 most frequent patterns. So in this case, you can immediately spot some of them seem to be nonsensical, and some of them seem to be sensible. So waste of time, money, talent, this is just a disjunction. This is things like waste of time, waste of money, waste of talent. Now let me sort of click on that and say, okay, this is a meaningful pattern. I want you to use this. Click on classify. And basically all we do by just using this one pattern is we go from 88.9 to 89.2. At the same time, just to convince you that I'm not cheating, if I click on the toy, which is in there because the Toy Story got a lot of good reviews, and click on classify, I actually make things worse. So in order to evaluate, are people good enough at reasoning over this stuff, in order to make a real difference, I actually gave this to everybody in my group. Most of the people were not very interested, so they did shoddy labeling, and they used some patterns that I have a hard time seeing why they clicked on them. But still, the interesting thing is, despite all that, we got a very nice boost. So this is my representative user, and just his form of labeling gets us from about 88.9% to 92.2%, which once you get closer and closer to 100 is actually really hard to get by. You need a lot of training data in order to get a similar result. And if you go down, sort of look at what he clicked, waste of time, let's see, worst film I have, makes sense, one of the best in, let's see, is excellent to waste. Okay, so you can sort of say, well, these seem to make sense intuitively. You can quibble about some of them, but this sort of seems to be a low overhead way. And on average, the users took about half an hour to go through these. And on average, you got about a 3% boost. So increasing classifier accuracy in those regions by 3% just by investing half an hour of work seems to be a lot of bang for your buck. So that's basically what we showed at TechFest. And this just reiterates the examples. So that was the story then. So we talked a little bit about the text patterns, talked a little bit about the application in text classification. Now the other area where we use these patterns is in feedback. So what you often have, a lot of groups in Microsoft get a lot of free text feedback, and either two things happen. Either they sort of send off a representative samples to some sort of some external vendor that then goes through that, writes up a 5-page report, and gets about $20,000 for it, or they just ignore it because they don't have the resources to look through it. There's very few groups that actually work very hard on the free text feedback, but most groups simply don't have the resources to do much meaningful.
That is pretty much Dave's.
Okay. Well, we might be able to help there.
All 48 of our users, everything they tell us, we respond to.
Right. If once you're in that domain, I mean, anything below 1,000 feedback responses, we have absolutely nothing to add. The right thing is to read. But you get groups like Office Online feedback or MSN search feedback. You get about 40,000 single feedback items per month. So that you can't read any. So the one thing, and again, this is real data, and this happened as a result of the TechFest demo, is the data is basically twofold. It's a label useful, not useful, or maybe. And you see that if you go on, let's say, on Outlook, and you go on any help page, you see this small piece of dialogue, sort of, was this useful for you? Yes, no, maybe. And if you care to leave a comment. So this is that data. They have about 1.8 million items. It's about 120 megabyte of raw text. I'm sure it's grown since we got it. So the problem is sort of how do I deal with this free text comment field? And what you want to find out is what are the frequent things people are saying without actually reading all of this. So the one thing, though, the one low-hanging fruit we first try to go after is simply saying, well, let's just find all the frequent text patterns that are highly correlated with either the useful or the not useful label. So what are the positive things people are saying? What are the negative things people are saying? And in a way, it's easy because we actually we have this label information that we want to leverage. I'm not going to show you the useful, the things that correlate highly with useful, but so if you have things like clear and concise, this solved my problem. That's in many ways that's boring, but I'm going to show you a small sample of the data we got by just looking at text patterns that correlate highly with the not useful tag. So you get what you sort of see here is this is the text pattern. If I have ... in there, that's a gap. We cut patterns off at sentence boundaries. This is how often it occurs in a document in the context of a help document labeled as useful. This is how often it occurs in the context of something labeled as not useful. And now the interesting part is, without putting a lot of smarts and effort in actually getting these patterns out, just by using the label information, you actually get a lot of stuff that you can immediately understand and immediately leverage. And it's both things like how do I unlock a document that points to problems that people have with Office applications.
Sorry. When people are voting useful and useful on the website,
Yes.
they're voting on the entire document.
Yes.
You pulled out 20 text patterns.
No. I'm sorry, and I didn't make that clear. What we pulled out are the comments. We can link, and sort of if you look at things like make this information more helpful, you actually need to link back to that website, because otherwise this doesn't tell me what the scope is. But we are actually only using the comments, and we have the same problems that the text is fragmented, the grammar is bad, people only give sort of bits and pieces of a description. About 30% of the feedback is just insults. So you get that. But sort of these things are... yeah, I knew you. So this is something. It's a low tech option to actually get something useful out of it without investing a lot of effort. And there's smarter things you can do, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. So we have these feedback patterns, and we actually have a tool that extracts these text patterns for you. And you can download it. It has some documentation, and I'll give you the link if you're interested in trying it out. It's a very simple command line tool. And the main thing it's built for speed. So if you give it 200 megabytes of raw text, it's supposed to run using not more than 1 gigabyte of main memory, and maybe, depending on the complexity of the pattern, gives you a result back in maybe half an hour of analysis. You can input some stop words, you can input some what you consider buzzwords. So it has some tweaks, and depending on what you need, we'll add more. So that's one thing we can offer to you. And we're also trying these patterns out in the context of machine translation, but we don't know if they're useful there. So I'll get back to you on that one. The other thing is sort of if you want to do real feedback analysis, the one thing you don't have are labels. So the very useful labels that the Office Online people had is, was this useful? Yes, no. And typically you don't get that. You only get the text. So now what? So the other thing we did is we integrated our stuff in the Pulse sentiment analysis tool, which was built at Microsoft Research in the natural language processing group. The tool, and here we actually show some UI. The tool gives you some clustering of sentences about what people are talking about. It automatically detects sentiment. So is this positive? Is this negative? Some ways of summarization, visualization. And I'm not responsible for that tool. That's the people mentioned down there. I just sort of integrated the text patterns in the tool. And that turned out to be useful. Just to give you 1 minute view of how this looks like. This is example data clusters centered around a single word, things like gas, fun, oil, tires. And what you also get is you get the color of that cluster, which tells you the redder it is, the more unhappy are people in the sentences that mention this, and the greener it is, the more happy they are. And then you can drill down on the positive sentence, on the negative sentence. The other thing you can do is you can, this is too small to read, but basically you can get out these text patterns, and then you can look at the sentences. You can sort of do some preliminary analysis of what people are saying, how often are they saying it. And we're using this sort of, the car database isn't even all that interesting. This is just the first piece of data we got our hands on. But a couple of groups within Microsoft are using this by now, or investigating whether this is useful. So Vista Beta Feedback, Office Online, Corporate HR. So anyone who filled out the MS poll, that data we're going to look at with this tool. Search feedback, MSN shopping, things like that. Yes, and we're talking to them. Yes. Or if you want to create a buzz, sort of, if you have an ad campaign and you want to actually create some sort of buzz around terms. Sorry. No. I was going to say, you create a pattern where you want to learn. Exactly. That's the idea. It's not clear what else is needed. So all of this is, most of this is in the investigatory stages, but that's where we're at right now. And I think the only thing I have left to say is I doubt that either one of these tools fits exactly into what you want, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't. The more interesting question is there some application that could leverage this? And you could imagine things like ad targeting, exploration of large text corpora, or just trying to route text, which is a little bit something that your feature in terms of having news articles routed as sort of items themselves hints at. But I really don't know. I think we might want to follow up on that.
Right. Yeah, they're basically
John Platt?
Yeah, Platt's doing auto classification, RSS. Basically, they would discover the topic.
Got it.
Yeah, directly. The thing that probably very is called general. We don't have enough. When we have 30,000 users,
Okay.
there's no more data. No, it is interesting to remember that comes up and down, and there's ways to find that just how it comes up.
All right. Thank you.